Hello guys, my name is AOK and I plan on talking about politics, sports, or anything that comes to my timeline. Today we're going to be talking about an interesting little story about Bernie Sanders' appearance on Joe Rogan and Joe Rogan's lack of understanding of, basic tax policy or his arguments with climate change. So, very full episode, very full video. Hit the like button and let's get right into it.
Senator Bernie Sanders appeared on Joe Rogan's podcast to discuss tax policy, specifically advocating for a top marginal tax rate of 90% on income exceeding $3 million, citing historical precedent from the 1950s and 60s under Truman and Eisenhower. And, I just want to make some commentary about the perceived left-wing and right-wing solidarity. I think everybody is upset that money doesn't go as far as it used to, and a single household income doesn't go as far as it used to. And I think what they don't realize is not the labor protections and the taxation in the...
Sorry to interrupt this wonderful video that you are watching. I just wanted to remind you to like the video and subscribe. I only need a couple thousand subscribers to go do this full time, like 3,000 or 4,000 subscribers because of where I live. So for you, it just takes 1 second. Just hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And for me, it's all the difference. So if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like. If this isn't your first video and you want to see more of this type of video, hit the subscribe button. But I'll send you back to this wonderful video that you were watching.
The 50s and 60s, the golden era of a white picket fence and a family household, apart from racial and systemic issues. I think if you can implement those policies, and spread them to everybody, not just white people now, I think people will thrive. But that is where the right differs. And if you notice, the left solution to this same problem, and I think right wing and left wing, we agree on this problem a lot, that a single household income cannot go as far as it used to. The left solution is taxing excess wealth, taxing money that isn't essential to that person's life, taxing money that is unlikely to go back into the system. So taxing excess wealth and also higher labor protections. That's the left solution. But the right solution is something along the lines of discouraging women in the workplace. I don't know if there's an actual policy from the right of something like that, but I've seen the right point to, it's because women work now. That's why one household income isn't enough, because they've made a more competitive workplace if women didn't work. So, but I haven't seen like a direct policy prescription of stop women from working. All I've seen is if women didn't work, blah 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 blah. So. But the main one they choose is immigration. And it just doesn't work that way. Sending immigrants out of your country just isn't going to help wages. It's just not. More working age people grow the economy. And that's why the right is always going to struggle, no matter how much they pretend to be for the working class. Just the fact that they refuse to put forward real working class policies, they're always going to be doomed. All right-wing populism is going to be is elites tricking and lying to the voters that they're going to find solutions, and it's just never going to happen, because none of these policies actually look out for working class people. The policies that look out for working class people are union protections and taxing excess wealth. Simple. So Joe Rogan repeatedly misunderstood the concept of marginal tax rate, suggesting that the proposed tax would apply to an entire income rather than only earnings above the threshold, a mistake that Sanders called well below the expected financial literacy for someone in Rogan's position. Look, so yeah, that speaks to Rogan not understanding what a marginal tax rate is. So he thought that if you made $3 million, that so it's 90% above $3 million. So he thought that if you were making $3.5 million that you're going to, if you make $3.5 million, sorry, let me do the math real quick, 90 times 3.5, he thought you were going to get taxed $3.2 million, not knowing that up until $3 million you get taxed normally, and then above $3 million you get taxed 90%. So the only part that gets taxed 90% is that extra $500,000. So you get to keep a regular amount of the first 3 million, which I think you'd end up keeping about 1.6, and then above that you get taxed 90%. So that's you get taxed $450,000 on the top $500,000, and this is basic marginal tax that anybody should understand. But I don't know, I guess Joe Rogan doesn't do his own taxes, obviously, but I mean, if you're going to argue against marginal tax, you should at least know what it is. The conversation shifted to climate change, where Joe Rogan initially expressed skepticism, referencing a Washington Post report that briefly suggested a cooling trend. Sanders countered by highlighting long-term scientific data showing rapid warming unprecedented since nearly 500 million years ago. And yeah, they always point to this. And again, maybe I don't want to speak too much on this because, you know, climate change isn't my area of expertise, but I think it's not just about, climate change is not just about, oh, everything's getting hotter. One, it's extreme weather trends, and two, it's the melting of the ice caps to increase the amount of flooding. So if the weather gets cooler for just a short period of time, that doesn't mean that climate change isn't happening. And longer term data will always show that there's a trend of heating. And I think the science just points to human beings affecting climate change, human beings causing climate change. Simple as that. People have speculated that Rogan invited Sanders to boost his credibility following criticism over perceived billionaire influence, noting that Rogan's lack of depth on issues like taxation and climate raised questions about the effectiveness of that strategy. And I think very, very straightforwardly, Joe Rogan invited Bernie Sanders to push back against all the people that were saying, oh, he cares about, people that were saying, oh, he cares about, he's only a right winger now, and he's pretending to be on the left. He's only pretending to care about these issues. And I think he was pushing back against those people by being like, okay, yeah, I'll get Bernie Sanders on. I'm not a right winger, when he has only gotten like the most hardcore right wing figures, especially politicians. Like, I think Bernie Sanders might be the first left-wing politician he's gotten in a long time. And it's even funny because his criticism of Bernie was when I knew that he had gone off the edge. When he implied that Bernie Sanders was corrupt, that's when I just knew that, okay, he's just a paid talking shill for the right, because he said Bernie Sanders was lying about not taking any money from Big Pharma. When, let me break this down for anybody that's one, still listening, and two, keeps making this mistake. Bernie Sanders didn't take any money from pharmaceutical companies. He took money from people who work at pharmaceutical companies. So those are people that are employed by the companies and then donate to him. That is very different from the company paying him directly or the company lobbying against him. And then, first of all, if you think about the difference, it's different for a company giving you money and an employee giving you money. Because one, how are you going, if a company gives you money, you're very clearly indebted to the company and you have to do things for the company. But if an employee gives you money,
there's no expectation of return unless it's a high level employee and the data doesn't show whether they're high level or low level or whatever. And then two, how can you stop that from happening? If you decide that you're never going to collect money from pharmaceutical companies, how would you stop like a janitor at a pharmaceutical company from giving you money? How would you stop that? Obviously, the reasonable thing is not taking money from the companies directly, not taking money from pharmaceutical lobbies, obviously. And then Joe Rogan intentionally made that lie. I think that, and all the lies that he's been spreading about Tim Walz, I think that is the telling thing. If you criticize Tim Walz thing with like the fake policies, and two, things that have nothing to do with policies, like, you know, him being soft, him being, you know, feminine, like him being fruity, or, you know, things like that, or the fake policies like the tampon policies. Which other one was it? Yeah, the tampons in bathrooms, and then there was one other one. Those fake policies, that's how you know that this person is a bad faith actor that is just peddling lies for the Republican Party, because those are all just lies. The real things that Tim Walz has done, paid family leave, school lunches for kids, school breakfast for kids, all free, and you know, those are the things. And he had like a slim majority in his state Congress, and he was still able to pass these positive things, legalization of marijuana, which Joe Rogan is supposed to care about. You know, those are the real Tim Walz policies, but they decide on making up lies and focusing on the whole Tiananmen Square thing, that, oh, he was there 2 months before he was actually there. He said he was there 2 months before he was actually there. You know, actual brazen lies about a left-wing figure, and you expect us to not think that you're just a paid shill for the Republican Party. So I think this was supposed to clear his image, and to a lot of people it hasn't worked because he doesn't even understand basic left-wing policy. Hey, before you go, thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed this and you want to watch more like this. Also, don't forget to like. Again, like I said, it only takes a second, and for me it makes all the difference. I only need a couple thousand subscribers to be able to do this full time, and you can check out some of my other videos. I probably uploaded a bunch more today, so, you know, go check those out. Thanks for stopping by.